Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So what is the meaning of this level A and level AA or level AAA? This is also important. So the criteria itself, they are divided into 3 levels. So A being the lowest, AA in the middle, and AAA is the maximum compliance or the highest quality of compliance. So even in the list of guidelines, you can see that the basic bare minimum is categorized as single A, level A. And if you keep scrolling, you will get an understanding that, okay, in case of AA or a little bit more technological soundness is required, it is if AA is also there, then it is more accessible to a wider set of audience. So it is basically the entire criteria is divided into A, AAA and AA. A being the lowest level of compliance, AA being a mid-level, second level compliance, and AAA being the highest level of compliance. So if your technology is fulfilling all A's and all AA's and all AAA's, then it is completely accessible by law. So this is required, this is why it is divided in this manner, is because the mandates, because the laws have to mention that it should be at least AA compliant in order to be published or whatever. It should be at least A level compliant in order to be published, etc. So the moment and then who decides whether it is not? So one is, of course, you have this checklist. So if your interface is able to, has all of these features which fulfill all A level criteria, for example, in that case your website or your application is A level compliant, and an auditor or an accessibility auditor can give you that A level certificate. And then if the law of the land says that it has to be A level compliant, then you are following the law. But if the law of the land says it is AA, it has to be AA compliant, but your auditor has given you only A level certificate because some of the AA criteria are not getting fulfilled, then you have to ensure, you have to make the changes. You have to ensure that the AA criteria also gets fulfilled in order to make it compliant and in order to follow the law of the land. Otherwise, there can be monetary fines, there can be other punishable consequences as well. And even this level is divided by the W3C understanding the technology or the need as well, both sides. That's something which is very complex to do, as well as it is not very frequently usable, that feature, or if that feature does support accessibility but for a very small percentage of people, or that is something which is not frequently used, then they have put it in the highest quality of compliance. So they also, based on their understanding, they have divided it into these levels. So now let us see how so now we are still here, we are trying to understand the interface and what all information is here. So, we have seen this full description, we have seen this understanding button, which takes us to a long description, gives us examples and all of those things. We have tried to understand what is the meaning of level A, level AA and level AAA. Now, let us see what is there in this drop down. So, this is called techniques and failures for 1.1.1, this criteria. So, what are the sufficiency techniques? So, for example, in order to meet the criterion, what all you have to do? So, we will discuss these aspects of ARIA labels. So, in ARIA 6, so it gives you code patches. So, ARIA library itself is an assistive technology based library, and these are the list of techniques which you can use in order to make your code comply with this criteria. For PDF, it can be this, applying text alternative to images with alt entry in PDF documents, how to add alt text in PDF documents. It is an entire to-do list, where to go, what to click. So, I think this itself is a very useful repository. So, for example, technique H2. So, H2 etc. are HTML based repositories, and these, so HTML and CSS based layouts. So, if in case of web etc., you can use these techniques. So, here also these are HTML based rating system. So, there are several examples like star rating in HTML, how to create buttons with groups of images, conformance level, etc., etc. All of these resources are available. So, it also has like all of these situations. So, right, situation A, if a short description can serve the same purpose and present the same information as the non-text content, then you use these techniques. If a short description cannot serve the same purpose and present the same information as the non-text content, then you use these techniques. If a short content is a control or accepts input, in this case you use these techniques. So, depending on your design, whatever applies, you will have to click and use that technique basically. Situation D, if a non-text content is time based media like a video or an audio clip, then you use these techniques. If it is a non-text content is a captcha, if it is captcha, then you use this technique. If a non-text content should be ignored by the assistive technology such as a screen reader, then you use this technique to basically make it skip. Other as advisory techniques, then it also gives you a list of failure of success due to using CSS to include images that convey important information. So, for example, if you have done this, then you will get an error or you will get an success criteria failure. So, it also gives you a possible list of failures, which are common list of failures. So, it is a very useful resource in itself, and this is just one criteria. right? This is just the one criteria that we are talking about. Similarly, in every section, so this is guideline 1.1, text alternative. Similarly, for guideline 1.2, time based media, 1.2.1, there is all of this again, full description, understanding, techniques, all of this, different situations, if the content is pre-recorded, if the content is pre-recorded video, if the content is pre-recorded audio, how to do it, then what are the possible failures, then all of this is here, all of these resources are there. Similarly, you can go through, and then so we can just kind of see here. So as we are moving, it is also moving in the navigation, and each section is very beautifully divided. So now we move to say 1.3. We are still in the main section 1, which is perceivability. So then each one is described beautifully. Content, create content that can be presented in different ways. For simple, for example, simpler layout without losing the information and structure. So if you show here, all of these resources are there. Again, situation A, the technology provides semantic structure to make information relationship conveyed through presentation programmatically determinable. Meaningful sequencing, sensory characteristics, orientation, all of these aspects are there. Identifiable purpose, markup languages and all of that. Similarly, it has to be distinguishable. So, use of color contrast and all of those things are basic important. So, this is again, that is why it is level A, all of these are level A. Contrast is double A. Text size, it should be open to resizing, it should be adaptable to interfaces. Contrast enhanced, background sound, visual presentation, all of these are there. Now we move to principle 2, operable. So now it goes into talking about keyboard access. So here, till here, section 1, all of this distinguishable, adaptable, time based media, text alternatives are part of perceivable. Then we move to operable, in which they talk about keyboard accessibility. Again, each one, how to make it keyboard accessible, what are the different techniques to make accessibility. You can go here in the understanding 2.1.1 again and try to understand why and how it is needed, what are the different cases, use cases, when it fails, and all of this. Enough time means that there should be enough time to react. So, if there is a task that needs to be done, there is enough time to complete the task. So, if you see what is the timing adjustability, so turn off the time limit or adjust the time limit, extend the time limit, real time exception or essential exception, 20-hour exception. So, all of these are there. You can just click and try to understand what is the meaning of this. Pause, stop, hide. So, I would suggest that you explore this entire document. It is in a very nice accessible format, very beautifully coded, very nicely appended with all of these techniques and descriptions and follow up pages, etc. No timing, interruptions, again inoperability, seizures of physical reactions. So, 3 flashes or flashing content, etc. are there, may cause seizure, so that needs to be removed or limited. It cannot be beyond 3 flashes. Navigability, so blocks, page title, focus orders, so particularly in navigation, link purpose, multiple ways to locate a web page, etc. Location, headings and labels, focus appearance. Then goes in input modalities. So for example, pointer gestures. So we will also discuss about particular input devices and output devices in one of the following lectures. Then goes principle 3, understandability. So if you see, that's what I think we discussed in the slides as well, that operability caters to or uses input devices, perceivability uses output devices, understandability, all of these cognitive aspects like readability, like language, unusual words, abbreviation. If you have abbreviated something and there is no full form available, all of these aspects are there. Predictability, that what is going to happen next, or the theme, or what kind of response is going to come, is either consistent throughout your website, that okay, whenever I click there is some particular kind of sound which is coming, or some particular color which flashes, or particular similar kind of behavior is happening. So if there is a loading thing, it has to be consistent. If it is some focus or some kind of a button which is again and again coming in different steps of an application, for example, it should look the same. It should take you to a similar looking next page and all of those things. So predictability is also very important. Input assistance, again, how we can prevent error. This was also very important aspect of universal design principles, was room for error, tolerance for error. So error identification is first, labels and instructions have to be very clear, suggesting that this may be an error or possible chance of an error, or preventing an error, particularly in legal, financial or important like biometric data. I think it is very important. Error prevention, redundant entry, all of these aspects are there, you can go through this. Then the fourth section is robustness, maximize compatibility with current and future user agents, including assistive technology. So for all the interfaces, components, including but not limited to the the name and the role can be programmatically determined. So it is very important. You can go through these again and try to understand what is the meaning of this particular criteria as well. What are the different examples? What is the intent behind it? What are the possible failures? So I think this is a very important document which will help you a lot. What we'll do is we'll go back to our slide. So again, we are back to the main page, which was WCAG 2 at a glance. There is also WCAG 2.2, which is a few guidelines have been added. So what are the new criterion which is added? Then there is also a draft WCAG 3, which also has a few more sections which will be published soon. So again, this is the same document, but just at a glance. So as soon as you can just land here and try to maybe read one section at a time in order to understand it fully. So give one section of each a day in order to understand all of them completely. So just say, for example, if you want to say provide captions and other alternatives for multimedia, you can just click here. That means these are just these set 1.2 and all of these are part of it. So you just go through 1.2.1 up till 1.2.9, and similarly you select one every day and just go through. That is how I would suggest you interact and learn about these guidelines. So web content accessibility guidelines also have an Indian parallel. It is called Guidelines for Indian Government Websites and Apps. It's called GIGW. So I've added a link to it as well, and you can see what all focus areas are there. So quality, accessibility, and they have also been developed. So if you see the introduction, they also say evolved by the same W3C or WCAG guidelines. They clearly say that these guidelines have been framed with the objective to make government websites and apps conform to the essential prerequisites of the UUU trilogy of usability, user centricity and universal accessibility of interaction design. The guidelines is based on international guidelines, W3Cs, web content accessibility, WCAG, rights of persons with disability, as well as the Information Technology Act of 2000. Further, the long standing experience of authors in the design, development, etc., management of government websites and apps, challenges faced by the government organization in developing. These guidelines also form the basis of web quality certification from the STQC Directorate. So, as we were talking about, there are some empaneled companies with these either MeitY or the Government of India entities, which can audit, do an accessibility audit of a product and give it a certificate, whether it is A compliant, level AA compliant or level AAA compliant. So you can see all of this also has several sections. So here the important thing that needs to be known about the GIGW particularly is that it only ensures conformity with level AA of WCAG guidelines. So that means that that according to GIGW, all our government websites should be at least AA conformity compliant as per WCAG criteria. And it has, you know, all of these non-conformity or risks associated. So, so it also tells you, you know, gives the question and gives answers as well. Risk associated with non-conformity, risk associated with non-conformity. So why, what are the questions, what are the answers? You can go through this document as well. Then we also have the BIS or the Bureau of Indian Standards, which have also developed a list of requirements as well as also has a list of checking different use cases, etc. Bureau of Indian Standards is the national standards body. I am sure you have heard about BS6, etc., which is there at the back of the car. So these are emission standards which are also made by BIS. and each car, for example, is then evaluated and audited and is given a stamp based on its conformity of the standard, and then laws around it are built. So, for example, in the government of NCT, when there is GRAP 4, you cannot drive any vehicle which is below BS 6. So, that means it is emitting a large amount of CO etc. emissions, right, comparatively above BS 5 or BS 6. So, similarly, they have these gold standards as well. I am sure all of you are available about the BIS gold hallmark, the BIS wool mark. So, all of these are quality standards. So, similarly, they have ICT products and services accessibility standards, which is there in these documents. So, this is the link which is also provided at the end of this document or the slides, and you can go through these documents. So, if you see, go here and you say click to download, you can just download it in a form of PDF, right, and it will tell you about software content and all of those contents. A wide range of ICT products including telecom services, web-based services, digital and virtual services, which includes all your mobile applications and web applications, etc. So, you will have to log in to download. So, it's a free registration, you can register and log in to download. Similarly, they have an active assisted living AAL use cases. So, if you see here, they are in the category of standards, and this document AAL use cases is a method of testing conformity. So, you can refer to both of these documents, and they again are based on the WCAG guidelines. So, WCAG guideline document which I showed you is open source. All of these are actually as well open source, they are all on the website, and all of them actually can help you to understand what is the meaning of conformity, how we can evaluate our digital products and how to make it accessible. So, as we saw in the WCAG guidelines document, even the techniques to make it more accessible, techniques to understand failure use cases as well, all of those are mentioned. Other than that, there are also a set of accessibility evaluation techniques. So, for example, if I made something, if there is a faster, so one is you read the entire document and see whether your script includes all of those techniques or not. The other way is that there are several automated conformity audit or an accessibility auditing tools or softwares which are available, and we will have a discussion about that in the next session. And you can do a quick check of your digital interface, and it will give you a list of conformities or non-conformities, how much percentage of compliance is there, in what category your work is falling, a few things, because by default also are there in our code, but we may not be aware that okay, this is a criteria for compliance, or it may be something which is not as obvious. So, that needs to be included, otherwise it is not even level A compliant. So, all of those there are tools which can just give you a list, and it can be a quick reference to fix while development or think about while development as well. Or if you are looking at an existing product, an existing website, those tools can again come in handy. So, and it can direct you to the respective ARIA library or respective ARIA labels, etc. All of those things are also there in those tools. So, we will discuss those tools in an upcoming session. So, other than that, why compliance is important is because there are legal regulations around accessibility, and I am sure many of you are aware of them. That is why you are taking this course. on digital accessibility, particularly in EU, for example, there is legislation to prevent discrimination, etc. And failing to which, like if your website is not compliant, or if your digital product is not compliant with the WCAG guidelines, then they even not allow it to publish, right? So, that compliance testing happens before the website is published, and there are laws against it if you do it without getting that license. It is almost like other mechanisms, like I am sure you are aware that in order to get a building built, you have to check, get a stamp of security compliance, fire safety compliance, etc. on the blueprint itself before you start building the building, right. So, similar laws are there in place in case of digital products as well in the EU and several other Western countries, and it is going to happen in India as well very soon. And recently, so Government of India, if you see the GIGW, it is actually a mandate that it has to be compliant. All government websites have to be compliant up to AA level of compliance as per the WCAG guidelines. If not, they are getting reprimanded, they are paying fines, etc. Similarly, SEBI has recently mandated that all banking interfaces, banking websites, etc. are also compliant. It's a mandate. So, they are suddenly have, so all of these companies as well as government bodies are utilizing accessibility tools or doing accessibility audits of their products or their websites in order to understand how they can make it more accessible, or whether they are compliant or not. So, it is also very important to understand that just by looking at it or just by interacting with the website, you may not know whether your website or product is following the criteria as per the legal mandates. So, it is important to check it and cross check it with the WCAG guidelines, the WCAG list of guidelines. Each criteria, each script needs to be checked and cross checked before saying that yes, it is compliant. Otherwise, the auditing companies will do it and not give you the compliance certificate. So, it is very important. So, to summarize this session, we spoke about accessibility guidelines, criteria for compliance. Now, India has its own guidelines and set of standards, and there has been a lot of push and mandates around accessibility, which is going to increase in the upcoming years, which is a good thing, because we want our digital infrastructure to be accessible by as many people as possible of varying abilities, of varying languages, of varying economic or class. So, that is very important. So, links to all of the three, the BIS standards, the government guidelines, which is GIGW, and the WCAG guidelines are provided in this slide. So, we will see you in the next session, possibly talking about the accessibility evaluation tools. Thank you for joining us in this session.